of the Awakening Mind from the Bodhicharya Avtara with Venerable Geshe Dorji Damdulla. Like last week, we have 3 sessions again today from 11 to 1, from 2 to 4 p.m., and then again 4:30 to 5:30. The text which we had sent across last time, we will resend it in case anyone is joining in today for the first time. And for those who are watching it later, if you would like access to the text, please mail us at pc@tibethouse.in. Last week, Geshe-la began the teachings with setting the context for us to understand Bodhichitta and leading us with the beginning of the text. And today continues with the teachings with a focus on takeaway practices for all of us. May we have a wonderful day. Thank you very much, Geshe-la. Immensely grateful for all your support and guidance.
Dilek, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, all of you. Thank you, Dr. Niveditaji, and my very dear friend, Mr. Vivekji, and Ananya, if you're around here, and all the participants. It is a great joy for me to meet you all again once more. With this in mind, today, yes, as Dr. Niveditaji already indicated, we will first do a little bit of the chant to remind us that since we, let's say that those who like to have very delicious mangoes, they have to plant mango seeds, not the apple seeds. So this correlation between the cause and effect is what we're going to be reminded of ourselves by the recitation of this mantra, Ye Dharma. And then the following that is going to be recitation of the Heart Sutra mantra, which says that once you know the cause-effect relationship, what gives rise to happiness, what gives rise to fearlessness for yourself, your family, for the humanity, and for all the beings, you have now found the medicines, the panacea. Once you have found it, our job is to take the dose of the panacea every day to make sure that it really fructifies into your aspired goal. So with this in mind, first setting a proper motivation to bring about a change within yourself, that how I behave thus far. So these are all the causes for me to go into the state of fears and state of the devoid of happiness. And now I need to revolutionize that by expanding the circle of compassion. So this is what we are thinking of doing. And Rasa, this is my Rasa. Oh, okay, so we will recite this first, the motivation, the setting motivation verse, and then the mantra. And as for the mantra, first we'll recite this verse together. I am and we'll recite this verse, and then we'll recite the Ye Dharma mantra, which inspires us to embrace the causes of happiness and the causes of the fearlessness, and abandon the causes of fears and the causes of miseries. So with this in mind, imagine that your 2 parents, all your family members, including children, and all dear mother sentient beings, they are joining you in reciting this verse. I'll quickly explain what this verse is, and the more detailed explanation I'll come in the main body of the teaching. It says, the one who has eliminated okay, the one who is transformed into the reliable guide, meaning that we all want, say, for us to for us to go to schools, we need teachers to guide us. And then for us to do PhD, we need supervisors to guide us. And for we want to say go in line to become a CEO. Again, we need somebody else to guide you. MBA, we need somebody to guide you. So if for the mundane the activities, we need somebody to guide us. Of course, the ultimate, the benefit, the total fearlessness and the infinite happiness for yourself and for your family members and for all beings. For sure, we need a guide, because this is a place where we have never been before, where we have never experienced before. So it says, the one who has transformed into the reliable guide, the one who is going to guide us to create a sense of fearlessness and to create the sense of the infinite happiness. And how this happens is the motivation must be so pure, motivated by altruism. Motivation must be so pure, which we have been discussing since the last session. And today also is all about how to create this motivation, very powerful motivation. And reading this text by Bodhisattva Shantideva, the chapter 1, you will see the benefit. And particularly when you go through hard times, difficult times, where you can easily sink into depression, you read these verses from chapter 1, you'll be inspired, and you will sense that there's no reason why I should go down. I can forever live so happily, so elevated, and so awakened, and so the fresh. Okay, altruism to benefit all sentient beings, to expand the circle of happiness. As I quoted Albert Einstein in my the lesson last time, that where Albert Einstein described our selfishness as delusion and as prison for us, and how to free ourselves from this prison, the optical delusion of the prism that we've created by our own mind. It is through expanding the circle of compassion towards others. And it's not that I'm perfected and you are the one that I'm guiding you. No, we are all in the same boat. The only thing is that I got a great opportunity to meet with the enlightened beings, great teachers, and highly, highly learned, experienced, and enlightened beings that, I have this information. So these, with a pure heart, I'm sharing with you. Okay, so with this altruism or the compassion to benefit others, then you have to look for the solution, a solution which you should teach the other beings. That is a teacher. And then Sugata, for that matter, you have to experiment it yourself first and see that it actually reaps benefit. That is the Sugata. Sugata meaning the state of the perfect bliss, the bliss of purity. The bliss of purity of your mind. And with this confidence, then you go to protect the beings. It says the teacher, Sugata, and protector. So this is how you protect the beings. And if this is how I also follow the path, I tread on the same path as tread by Prince Siddhartha, then I will also attain the fearlessness, the infinite happiness, and that I can share these two with all my dear sentient beings. Okay, with this mind, let's say this 3 times together, followed by the mantra. The one who has transformed into the reliable guide, motivated by altruism to benefit sentient beings. The teacher, Sugata, and protector, to you I make prostrations. The one who has transformed into the reliable guide, motivated by altruism to benefit sentient beings. The teacher, Sugata, and protector, to you I make prostrations. The one who has transformed into the reliable guide, motivated by altruism to benefit sentient beings. The teacher, Sugata, and protector, to you I make prostrations. Okay, let's say this mantra together. And those of us who know how to recite this will recite with me, and others will just listen to us and join us. Okay, better would be first we read the meaning first. The meaning, one verse there. We'll read it together. And it simply means all phenomena arise from causes, meaning the phenomena of suffering, phenomena of happiness. They don't arise randomly. They arise from their respective causes. So, what are the causes of these miseries which we dislike? What are the causes of the fears? They're all indicated by the Tathagata. Tathagata meaning the awakened one, the enlightened one. The cessation of the causes is how to bring an end to these causes is also taught by the great seer, the awakened one. Okay, with this mind, we'll say the mantra together. Om ye dharma hetu prabhava hetum te sham tathagato hyavatat Desham chayo niroda evam vati mahashramanaye swaha. Om ye dharma hetu prabhavam hetum te sham tathagato hyavatat Desham chayo niroda evam vati mahashramanaye swaha. Om ye dharma hetu prabhavam hetum te sham tathagato hyavatat Desham chayo niroda evam vati mahashramanaye swaha. 시행입니다. 말씀 좀 오래. You will say this verse. This is very, very important verse. This verse for us to wake up from the sleep of ignorance so that you'll be freed from all fears. You will experience the infinite happiness and then share this experience of the fearlessness and the infinite happiness with all your parents, with your children, with all the dear mother sentient beings. Beyond utterance, thought and expression is a perfection of wisdom, which is unborn, unceased, and has the nature of space. It is the object of apprehension of self-realized wisdom. To you, the mother of the Buddhas of the 3 times of your obeisance. Deyata Om Gati Gati Paragati Parasamgati Bodhisvaha Tyata Om Gati Gati Paragati Parasamgati Bodhisvaha Tyata Om Gati Gati Paragati Parasamgati Bodhisvaha. Okay. So since the first session meaning the last week, we are talking of the unconditional love. We're talking about the unconditional love, the secret of the happiness. In other words, the secret of the happiness. One thing that we need to first of all identify and discover is what's the true nature of your mind. The true nature. It doesn't mean that your nature is emptiness, your nature is like ocean. No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking very empirical, on the empirical basis. What's the nature of your mind? Say, for example, say if somebody says something nasty things towards you, how does your mind react? And when somebody simply sits with you and simply person listens to you, again, what is the nature of your mind? How your mind behaves? This is what I'm talking about. And finally, we see that I'm sure you will all agree with me that the central importance of the whole universe with respect to you is you. And let us be very honest. Oh no, it's very selfish, to think about I'm the most important thing. No, just be very practical, be very realistic, say in your life. So say 8 hours you work, let's say 8 hours you work, be it your personal business or you are working for somebody as the employee. So there, whatever earning that you get out of this earning, they say what percentage is used for yourself. Almost like, if not 100%, almost like 60, 70, 80%, 90% we use on ourselves. Raise your hands if you agree with me. Yes, we should be very honest, very honest. And if you discover who you are, no need for us to feel uneasy, because this is how we have to begin. We should be very realistic. We have to start from the scratch, from the ground. If you discover your ground, from there you can climb up. From there you can climb up. Then you will discover that okay, finally, all what I've been doing is for myself, and what for? What for? So that I'll be happy. And what experiences happiness? There's one agent which I call as, which is intangible, which is, even though you put on the nice clothes and you put on the facade of, a joy, happiness, you go to the party, you go to the birthday party of somebody else, and other person can feel something that you are not really happy. So what is that? It's nothing to do with the physical. The happiness, you are not happy is all about your mental state. How many agree with me? Raise hands. Okay, this is what I call as the empirical reality. Let's not talk about something which is not empirical, something which, I have no exposure to this. Yes, it is said in the book. No, I'm just talking about the empirical reality. You and I. So what is really the central thing that makes me who I am? So in other words, the point is that there's nothing wrong to say that I am doing everything for myself. There's nothing wrong in it. And on top of nothing wrong with this, the question is, how much happiness do you want? What degree of suffering that you want to get it off? Then you will say that a possible 100% happiness, a possible zero suffering is what I'm seeking. This is all what we'll agree. If you agree to this, yes, this is your basic right. This is your basic, the freedom, the right that you have to achieve that. But then you should be wise how to achieve that. Nobody will force you. Nobody will give you a recipe. So it's only that you have to learn it. You have to apply it. You have to tread on the path to really acquire that. So for that matter, we see that finally it is my mind. Yes, my mind is so gullible, is so vulnerable. Where somebody says something, bad things, I easily feel offended. Okay, how many feel easily offended when somebody says bad things towards you? Raise hands. You feel sad, and sometimes angry, agitated. Okay. So this is how our mind is so, vulnerable, so vulnerable. And in the process, when somebody says, when somebody is nasty towards you, when you're unhappy, when your mind is disturbed, are you happy? You're not happy. And the question is that your true nature of your mind? Answer is no. You have to discover your true nature of the mind. It doesn't matter what belief that, what religious faith that you have. It doesn't matter what geographical place where you are born. It doesn't matter what gender. It doesn't matter. The point is that you have to discover your own mind, the true nature of mind. Yes, my mind. So look, for example, look at His Holiness the Dalai Lama. He also has a mind. We also have a mind. Then all these bad things happening, all these, wherever His Holiness moves, there's always obstacles coming from CCP. Always, always. And one time what happened was that I was invited to give a public address in a university in one country. Not going to share what country that is, in one country. And it was a request coming from the university to me, and I accepted. And the last minute, 2 or 3 days to the actual event of the talk, I got a message saying that sorry, we have to cancel this program. Why? Because there's pressure from CCP, pressure from Communist Chinese. So I was so fascinated. The Communist Chinese, they're so scared of even a small person like me. They're so scared of the ordinary person like me, very small person like me. And then they are, wow, how much problem they must be going through, right? They have to deal with everyone, anybody say going to talk to university, there's a problem. They suffer. And if they raise hands like this protest, they will be crazy mad. So look, this is all what is happening. So it's all about one's own mind. It's all about one's own mind. So what I'm saying is that finally, you're happy, not happy, is all related to your mind. And His Holiness, if this is what is happening to me, what is happening to His Holiness, yet His mind is so calm and peaceful. And whereas each one of us, if this kind of the nagging, every movement, every word that you utter, the nagging, somebody's nagging, and you will say there's no the human rights. You feel so agitated, but look at His Holiness, so calm, peaceful. And for us, our neighbor says that you throw the garbage next to my door, your mind is so agitated. How do you know that I threw this? Right? You become so agitated. And yet it's so tiny, it's nothing. You can say, okay, do you think that I did not throw this? I didn't throw this, but if you think that I throw it, doesn't matter. I'll pick it up. You pick it up, put it in the bin, and go to your room. Finish. And then whole day you are disturbed. If this is what happens, then all these problems, like what His Holiness is being faced with, if you are to experience part of it, you'll become crazy. You will end up in a mental hospital. So what I'm saying is that it's all about the mind. How controlled is your mind? When your mind is very controlled, nothing can affect the peace of your mind. This is known as the fearlessness. Whereas if your mind is not controlled, whatever position, whatever wealth, the power, education, the youth, nothing can save you from the fears. You'll be in constant fear. So the point is, we have to identify internal factors. So like the sound of clap, one hand symbolizing external factors and the other hand symbolizing internal factors coming together, invariably the explosion of the sound happens. So this sound is a metaphor, the explosion of the sound is a metaphor for our miseries, our fears, our agitations. For that, external factors, internal factors, both involved. And those people who categorically, who exclusively go to look for external factors, to blame the external factors, they will never, they can never get rid of the fears. Where the wise people knows that no, external factors will never come to the end. External factors will never come to the end. Same, if you're, because of COVID, if you're by yourself, you will say that, I'm very lonely. Then, okay, now there's no COVID, ban free, you can be with other people, I have no privacy. So this is what happens. This is what happens. So if you're by yourself, you say, I'm lonely. If you're with other people, you say, I have no privacy. External factors will never stop. So the wise people, they are drawn inwards. Those people who are drawn inwards are to look for the internal factors. These people are known as wise. Internal factors meaning you are trying to discover the true nature of your own mind. How the mind, what's the true nature of the mind? Okay, let me put it like this. What's the true nature of mind? Because we have only today, we have 2 sessions plus 1 question answer session. And so therefore, I like to do it a little quick. And otherwise, it could have been a little interactive. So that the discussions in themselves will take you to discover your true nature of your own mind. The true nature of mind is that one is that, let's say that you are in a dream. You are in a dream and you dreamed of all the bad things happening, earthquake, and then your building crumbling down, and your relative has been crushed, and you're also on the way to crash, you're separated, all these bad dreams, nightmare happen to you, which means that in the dream, the contents of the dream affect you. How many agree with me, raise hands? Okay. Now let's say that you wake up. The moment you wake up, you will feel so much of relief, perfect relief. All what was in the dream was dream. It has nothing to do with me. You will not be affected at all. You are freed from being affected by any content of the dream. How many agree with me, raise hands? Okay, so how did it happen? How did it happen? By waking up. You wake up, then you leave behind all the factors which affect your mind. Your mind reaches to a level where your mind is not going to be affected by any contents of the dream. That is the time when you have no fear over the dream, because the dream cannot affect you. When you wake up, the dream cannot affect you. You're totally fearless with respect to the dream. So likewise, we are advised to wake up from the sleep of ignorance. So that is one part. Then the other part is, let's say that your mind. So which means that if your mind wakes up, your mind has the nature to experience the fearlessness. This is nature of your mind. Till you wake up, your own dream will torment you. Dream that your mind projects will continue to torment you. The moment you wake up, nothing can torment you. So this is the true nature of mind, where your mind has the potential to experience the total fearlessness, provided you wake up from the sleep of ignorance, or provided you stop projecting your own demons, your own dream demons. You stop projecting them. First, what do? We create the dreams, and in the dreams you create the dream demons, and that you see dream demons are real, actually your own projection, and the dream demons then affect you, and then you run away, and you start to sweat, you start to panic. It's all these are dramas, your own drama, failing to see the drama as the drama. So you wake up, you come to realize these are all your dreams, your own projection. The moment you discover that they are your own projection rather than from their own side, objective reality, your fears dissolve. This is one nature of your mind. And how many, in case if there is a way by which suddenly you wake up today and you wake up from the sleep of ignorance, and that all your fears dissolve, how many you would be looking forward to that? Raise hands. Okay, if you're very serious with this, your job is, okay, how can I wake up? You have to explore. Okay, this is one part. Number two is the true nature, another nature of your mind is that, say, the light, a candlelight, a very bright candlelight, and you put a picture on it, the light will not be visible. The light will not be visible. It doesn't mean that this light is biased. This light is confined to the vase inside of the vase. No, simply break the vase, and what will happen to the light? Anybody? Raise hands. You break the vase, and what happened to the light? Raise hands. Anyone? Okay, Anu. Unmute. Anu. Yes.
Geshe-la, the light will be spreaded in every corner of the room.
Perfect. How many agree with Anu? Raise hands. Very good. So the nature of the light is not confined within the vase. You break the vase, and the light, the nature of the light is simply to spread everywhere in the room. Likewise, the true nature of mind is not confined to the selfishness. I. No, this is not your true nature. This is not it. There's a picture. There's a picture there. Picture which blocks this beautiful light inside. This picture is the picture of the selfishness. Picture of the self-centered attitude. You break this, and the mind will spontaneously flow in every atom of the universe, every atom of the world. So what is that? What is this metaphor for? This metaphor is for what? So just as the light pervades, it doesn't require any effort. If this light will effortlessly move towards every atom of the universe. Likewise, our mind, if the selfishness is removed, the mind will automatically flow towards all the beings with love and affection. So this mind flowing towards others freely is known as the unconditional love towards all the beings, infinite love towards all the beings. Okay, this is our true nature. And as we discussed last time, as we discussed, our minds is the quality of this mind is so beautiful. If you can discover it, even a part of it, it's extremely healing, extremely healing. So this is very funny. Where on the where say somebody asks you somebody asks you to do a favor, and then if the person's the unknown, or the person is somebody who you dislike, with whom you have little conflict, then your mind will not at all, you will feel it as like a burden for you to that for the person. Whereas if the person is neutral, okay, it's partly burden. And if the person is somebody like, let's say that your friend, okay, I'll do this for you, but you also have to do things for me in the later. You don't forget it. And if it is your child, right? Time, money, resources, everything you just sacrifice without expecting anything in return. Generally speaking, this is what happens. How many agree with me? Raise hands. Generally speaking. Oh, yes. So why? And then when that happens, do you feel any burden, any obligation? No, you don't feel it. It's out of joy. Now, when you see that you're able to do this for a child, there's a tremendous joy there. It's so beautiful experience, amazingly beautiful experience. Just imagine that your mind has this capacity to feel the same thing. Just see if you could feel this towards one person, towards one child, was a feeling is so beautiful when you see this child. And imagine if this is the same feeling that you feel towards 5 people, this joy multiplies 5 times. And imagine if this just, let's say that this happens to every being. Since the beings are infinite, you experience the infinite joy. It's so beautiful. Everything is magic. You see anything, everything is magic. Good things are magic, bad things are magic. Everything is magic for you. This is so beautiful. This is what everybody craves for. And if somebody shows you a glimpse of this experience, everybody will crave after this. And yet, how many actually go to get it? So rare. So rare. Why? Because they don't even have a clue as to what that is like. So therefore, say the relationship that you see between the parents and the children, particularly between the mother and the young tender child, this relationship, if you can see that, if you can watch it, and then extrapolate it, extend it to other beings, if this is what I can do to others, if this is what happens to me with respect to others, then my joy, happiness will be 24/7. Okay, this is so precious. And yes, 100% it is doable. So with this in the mind, what I would say to make it the little comprehensive, what we just discussed earlier, the one who is transformed. So we'll go back to this verse. This verse is so precious. This will give us, it's just 2 lines, and yet the message that it conveys to us, how to extract the greatest meaning out of one's life. This is so well delineated in these 2 lines. It's so beautifully delineated. In fact, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, I think 2008, 2008, His Holiness was invited to give a public address in Delhi University. And at the end of the address, there was one during the question and answer session, a young girl stood up to ask His Holiness, what's the meaning of one's life? What's the purpose of one's life? Then His Holiness, without any doubt, without any thought, he said, we live on hope and we hope for happiness. Let me say this again. His Holiness replied, we live on hope and we hope for happiness. So the genuine happiness is the purpose of one's life. This is what His Holiness says. So with this, let's not forget it. Say, in other words, anything that you do, including the Dharma discourse or anything, puja or whatever, it says these logical things, illogical things, whatever you do, right? Keep in mind that it is for your happiness, number 1. And don't think that you are selfish. When you're thinking of doing this, don't think that you are selfish. Okay, it's for my happiness. And at the same time, let's not forget these 2 lines. The first line is, be kind to yourself. Be kind to yourself, number 1. Meaning, in your life, most of us, even if some of us we might not have, for example, I lost my mother when I was just 5 years old. So I did not have the privilege of enjoying the mother's love and mother's care. Yet I could imagine by seeing others, the others who receive so much love and affection from mothers, from there I could imagine that this was exactly the love that I got from my mother when before I say the 5 years that I was with my mother. This was exactly, so this is what I could imagine. So with this in mind, I say that this love and affection, which is so important, and then see how we can say this love and affection that we got from your mother, from your parents, from your father, or from your brother. In some cases, your brother was like your parents. In some cases, your sister was like your parents. For example, my sister, since I lost my mother when I was 5 years old, my sister, she was like my parents. She was just about like 4 or 5 years older than me. And yes, she was treating me as her own, child. And my father, he gave all the responsibility to my sister, who herself was just a young child, and taking care of me, this young boy. So what I'm saying is that all this love and affection that you got from your mother, just think of that, which is extremely precious. And so with this, the point is that what's the purpose of your life? Be kind to yourself. Just as a mother is so kind to you, particularly when you're going through a vulnerable age. So when you're 16, 17, then many youngsters. So when I talk about the mother's love, mother's compassion, no, I don't agree. Many people, they say that no, I don't agree, because my mother was a very tough mother. So that was because you were already 16. You're already 16, and then so your mother is so loving, caring that she doesn't want something bad to happen to you. And then the mother's constantly checking on you, and then that you think that is tough. So all those people who have difficult time since you were age 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, tell me, right? Then I will understand it. At 16, if you have complication, then don't blame your mother, blame yourself. Okay. So what I'm saying is, when you were in your tender age, vulnerable age, where in your mind it was only your father or your mother coming to your mind as the safe haven. So there you have received the maximum love and affection. This is what you describe as the most kind persons on the earth when you were young. When you were young, when you're young. Now you may look for somebody else. Yeah, okay. No, my parents are not the kindest person. I have this person, that person, my teacher, they this guru, that guru, and so forth. That'll come later. Actually, reality, when you are vulnerable at that point in a mind, instantly your dad and mom will come to your mind. That's for sure. Okay, how many agree with mirror sense? Very good. When you're vulnerable age, particularly, let us not forget this. I said this very strongly last time. Let's not forget it. These are the tips and the secrets of your happiness. Say, one day I asked a question to a group of the participants of my retreat, one of my retreats, and I asked, tell me one moment which is most memorable in your life. And one gentleman from England, he said that the day one I touched the hand of my daughter. The day, okay, it was like this. The day I touched the hand of the 1-day-old daughter. When he said it, he just became so emotional, so emotional. Who is that daughter? Who is that son? Right? Each one of you. Don't forget it. Don't think that, there must be a girl there, 1-day-old girl there. Don't think that you are the one. You are the one who the mother picked up day one you were born. You are like the whole treasure of the world. And your father touched you. You are the whole treasure of the world. This 1-day-old girl is you. This 1-day-old boy is you. Don't think of somebody else. And we forgot it. And this person who you describe as your dad and mom, they take you as their pride. And where you did nothing. You did nothing, right? And yet they take pride in you. They said, this is the most beautiful moment. Who is that? This all indicative of the love for you. Enormous love. While in their life, they've gone through so many experiences, from this moment in relation to you is considered as the most memorable day. Who is that person? It's you. Who is that girl? You. Who is that boy? It's you. Let's not forget it. And who's that person who's telling you with so much of pride and the emotion? It's your dad. It's your mom. Let's not forget it. Okay. So with this, be kind to yourself, meaning that give yourself the happiness and take the suffering away from you, the way, the manner in which your kind parents did to you when you were young. Be kind to yourself. Then some of you may think that, oh, what is this? Buddhism, and minor Buddhism is supposed to be for all sentient beings. Now he's talking about be kind to yourself. It's very selfish. No, this is not the end of the story. This first part. Second part is be wisely kind to yourself. Be wisely kind to yourself. Meaning that you do those things. The first one, be kind to yourself, is like finding the ground. Yes, we are born that way. Day one we are born crying, not crying that the newborn baby is suffering, hungry, thirsty. No, I am hungry, I am thirsty. How we are born? We should be very realistic. We should find the ground. We should be realistic. And then from there, let's learn how to be wisely kind to yourself. What does it mean by wisely kind to yourself? So the kind means to give the maximum happiness, to take you away from the miseries. And to give the maximum happiness, you have to embrace the causes of the happiness. Embrace the cause of the happiness. And if you don't want suffering, stay away from the causes of the suffering. This is the message. This is the meaning of be wisely kind to yourself. And people, oftentimes, this is what happens. People, they want happiness. They want happiness. They want prestige. They want, the wealth, the power, and so forth. They don't want to work. They don't want to work. They don't want to work. They want everything. They want to prove themselves as special, but they don't want to work. They don't want to put effort. This is contradictory. They want the best for themselves. This is the being kind to yourself. But not wanting to work, not wanting to put effort, that is being very unwise. So the second line is very important. Be wisely kind to yourself, which means that if you want happiness, learn how to embrace the causes of happiness. It's not through just relaxing that you'll get a happiness. It's not through relaxing that you will become the celebrity. Don't expect that. Okay. So with this, again going back to the two lines, this is so important. Okay. Text reads, in fact, these two lines were composed by 6th century great Indian master by the name Acharya Dignaga. Acharya Dignaga. And then I will cut short the story. Okay, perhaps the story will be helpful to make you remember these two lines for a longer duration of time. He is revered as the father of the logic, the father of the Buddhist logic, and he was in his hermitage, and he started to compose the text on logic. And these two lines he composed as word of salutation to the enlightened one, the Buddha Shakyamuni, the Prince Siddhartha, who became enlightened. These two lines as word of salutation. And then in those days, no papers, so he wrote that on a slate, and put it outside there, and he left for arms round. Coming back, he found that these two lines were erased. The slate was just what was in there wiped off. The next day he wrote the same thing, left. It happened 3 times. 3 times what was written on the slate were all wiped out. And that the third day, what he wrote, he did not write this. He wrote that who's ever erased my work? If you erase it out of joke, this is not a joke. This is a very important point. Please don't erase this. Whereas if you erase it because you disagree with me, come in person, show up in person. Then he left. Coming back, there was a man waiting for him. What for? Which means I disagree with you. So because disagree, in those days is all very rigorous debates happening. And this poor guy, he did not know that the person with whom he disagreed was the father of a Buddhist logic. He's a logician. He did not know that. Then two of them, they started to have debate. And of course, who can compete with Acharya Dignaga? A brilliant logician. And the other person lost the debate. And as per the tradition, whoever lost the debate should be converted to the other tradition. So in those days, what was happening was that many Buddhas, they were being converted to the other traditions. Now, other traditions likewise converted to Buddha. This was what is happening in those days, because it depends on the the skill and the knowledge, the debate skills of the teachers. Right? Sometimes the Buddhist some of the Buddhist teachers, they happen to be so weak, and then the non-Buddhist teachers, they happen to be more the more logical and more powerful in logic. Then they debate, and that teacher, the Buddhist teacher, lost the debate. All his students, like 500, 1,000 students, whatever number of students that you have, all should be converted to the non-Buddhist tradition. For example, Mimamsaka, Samkhya, then Nyaya, Vaisheshik. So you have to be converted. Whereas the other tradition, if the teacher lost the debate to the Buddhists, then all the teacher along with the students all should be converted. This was the bet in those days. And then this gentleman who was debating with Acharya Dignaga, he lost the debate, and he did not stick to the bet, the customary bet, and he started to send fires. He had a miracle power, send fires against Acharya Dignaga. Then Acharya Dignaga, he felt extremely deeply sad, that I'm every day saying, may I become enlightened to benefit all the beings. If I cannot benefit even this person who's right next to me, how can I benefit all the beings? Then he threw the slate in the air, in the sky, and with the intention that the moment the slate falls, he would give up the spirit to work for all beings. And it never fell. And he was so fascinated. How come that it did not fall? He looked up in the sky and he saw Manjushri, the Bodhisattva of wisdom, holding the slate and saying that, my spiritual son, my spiritual child, you should not feel demoralized simply because of this person. Continue writing this treatise, and this treatise will be like eyes to wake up the sleep of so many millions and billions of beings in the future. So this was a prophecy made, and he continued to compose this. So this is how these two lines, they are the words of salutation to Prince Siddhartha, who later became the awakened one. So it says, the one who is transformed into the reliable guide. We need guide to go to the state of fearlessness and the infinite happiness. And keep in mind that the following guide, don't follow blindly. This is what I always tell. Many people, they follow some Buddhist teacher, they follow very blindly. And I always say that please don't do that. This is where you can end up in problems. Don't follow blindly. And first learn the reality. What's the reality? What's the reality? Very objectively. And once you're convinced with this reality, and then see which other person who really manifests the practice of compassion, who really manifests the practice of the wisdom. And once you're convinced of this through your own knowledge, you're in a position to see who is a better person as your teacher. And then accordingly, you choose a teacher. Till that point, don't go rashly. This is what I always encourage people. So with this in mind, in other words, I'm encouraging all of us, including myself, not to follow blindly. So one time when I was in Cambridge, in England, I met a physicist, a very bright physicist, really bright. And it was not to fall into the extreme. Sometimes he behaves a little extreme. One day what he said, okay, let us all listen to what he said. He said that in this world, only physics is education. Okay, how many are not from physics? Raise hands. Which means that we are not into education, right? According to him. In this world, only physics is education. Okay, a big statement. Okay. And I asked why. Then he said, because it is only physics which allows you to have a critical thinking. All others are imitation of the earlier teachers. This is what he said. Okay, then I said, okay, at least you have given a reason. And I said, listen to what the Buddha has to say. The Buddha said, the bhikshus and the wise people, just as the goldsmith tests the purity of the gold by cutting, rubbing, and burning the gold, you should also examine my words and put them to practice, but not simply because you respect me. And he remained silent for a few seconds. And he said, oh, the Buddha must have been a great physicist. Okay, so what I'm saying is that this should be approach. Approach should be that we should be very objective in approach. Don't follow blindly. If you follow blindly, you will suffer eventually. You will suffer. And the people, they will take advantage of your blind faith, right? And who those people are, we never know. You may think that this enlightened person, that guru, and eventually you will end up into problems. Don't follow blindly. Don't never ever follow blindly. Okay. So having said this, these two lines, I'm going to quickly, go a little deeper into these two lines. Okay, the one who has transformed into the reliable guide. We need a guide, right? And particularly, I'm sure you'll agree with me that if you are more into, let's say you are a very the simple person, say from a very simple, humble family, and then you are so inspired to become a professor in physics. And for that, you don't know how to become a professor in physics. And then you see that your next door neighbor or your, say, the college, the professor, you came to learn that this professor was also from a very humble family. In fact, much more, I say, the poorer background. Childhood, extremely difficult childhood, and no facilities at all. And this is how this person is more like a self-made professor, self-made through one's own effort. And you also belong to this category. You'll be so inspired. Whereas there is another professor, okay, whose father is a minister, whose mother is some, the delegate of the UNO, like this. Oh no, this is not my kind. That, of course, this is not self-made. Whereas this professor, so you will be so inspired to know how this professor, from a very simple background, raised to elevated himself, herself to that level of the professorship, that to a very renowned professor. How come? You'll be more inspired. How many agree with me? Raise hands. Very good. So likewise, we all want to learn from somebody who actually treaded that path, rather than who they say they follow that shortcut, right? Shortcut. My father is a minister, my mother is a minister, right? Not like this, but as who really treaded the path, self-made. That person would be your inspiration. You would be your role model. And what are you seeking? You are seeking infinite happiness. You are seeking the total fearlessness. Okay. If you are not presumptuous, how many agree with me that yes, indeed, if these two are possible, I must seek this? Raise hands. If these two are possible, I must seek it. Okay. And yes. So if you are somebody who who really seek to attain the fearlessness and the infinite happiness, then it says that you have to look for a guide who will really inspire you, who really tread on this path, from an ordinary person to actually having experienced the fearlessness and the infinite happiness. And that too, for you not to blindly follow, but look at his or her, say, the life stories, logically, through reasoning, empirical experience. See how it works. So when you look at it, it says the one who has transformed into the reliable Prince Siddhartha. When he was a prince, he was just ordinary person. Maybe he was really intelligent person, young man, and extremely compassionate. Yes, of course, he demonstrated so much compassion even as a very young child, as a prince. Likewise, a naturally gifted intelligence, but not as a Buddha. So that is what this child was like. The child, Prince Siddhartha, who has eventually, at the age of 35, he transformed into the reliable guide, by treading the path to experience the fearlessness and the infinite happiness, and thus became a reliable guide to guide others to the state of fearlessness and the infinite happiness. Reliable guide. How come that he became like this, from a simple prince, from a Prince Siddhartha to this reliable guide? How come? What is the procedure like? I also like to follow this. I also like to experience the fearlessness, the infinite happiness, and I like to guide my parents, my children, and all the dear sentient beings. I like to do that. So how come that he did it? Yes, then the steps are taught. 4 steps are taught. The first step, and just see if you agree with this. If you don't agree, don't push yourself. Just see if you agree, if it makes sense. If it makes sense, only then you can say that, okay, that makes sense. This is exactly how I would also do. The first, as a prince, he was just in the palace. And then you look at his biography. At one point, what he said was that at the age of like 20, 28, 29, even before that, what he said was that I am so fragile. This is words. Prince Siddhartha. He acknowledged that he's so fragile. What do you mean by fragile? What do you mean by fragile? Right? Okay. Fragile means somebody who has never experienced the pains. Because one has never experienced what the pain is, you are just brought up in a luxury where you are so pampered and you don't know how to tackle the real world. Okay, I'll share a story. And in the monastic, in the monastery, the monastic universities, the monks, they're all trained to cook their food. They are, the moment you go there, I don't know about all the monasteries, but the monastery like mine, where all the monks, they have to learn how to cook food. They're like almost like all the monks, they are like wonderful chefs. They're all chefs, great chefs. Yeah, they would cook very fast, clean, delicious. You'll be fascinated. How come that? Okay, one time what happened was that a gentleman in the city, my monastery is 45 minutes from the city by car. And somehow, I don't know how I became friend with this gentleman in the city. And so he was running his own business, I think some small scale factory. And one day he said that, okay, Dorji, the next time, almost like once in a while, I visit hospital in that city, and he came to know that I was coming on the Monday. Then he said, he told me that, okay, Dorji, you come next Monday, you'll have a lunch with me at my home. Okay, so I organized in such a way that I was with him, the lunch, and then I go to hospital. So I was with him at about, like, let's say 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock, he served me a simple tea, and it was already 11 o'clock. Still, he was not preparing to cook food, and I was there as a guest. And still, he was not preparing. He was still chatting, 11 o'clock. Okay, when is he going to prepare food? 10, 11:30, still he's not preparing food. Okay, lunch is supposed to be at 12, but still he's not preparing food. Okay, then is 12. Then he said, okay, Dorji, we'll go out in a restaurant. I said, you invited me to have lunch in your house. So what happened? He said that my wife left for her village for a family visit. And now I don't know how to cook. He said, I don't know how to cook. And then I said, okay, poor guy. So how do you manage your dinner and the morning breakfast? He said, sometimes my sister brings food. Okay, so this is what I meant by fragile. You have so many mates, helpers. It's a self-torture. I personally would say that this is self-torture. If you do have mates, this is your choice. But I personally would say that it's a self-torture. Because mates, they're not permanent. Mates can also become sick. And worse things happen. Worse things happen when something goes wrong. Everything goes wrong. All the mates take leave at one time. And you left there, right? You even don't know where to go order the food. You even don't know where the restaurant is. You even don't know that. You're so pampered. This is self-torture. This is self-torture. So this is what Prince Siddhartha said. I'm so fragile. I'm so fragile. So look, my father, the king, he built 3 palaces just for me. One for the spring, one for autumn, one for winter. And he built 3 pools for me. One to be used in the summer, one to be used in the spring, one to be used in the winter with the warm water. And I'm so fragile, so pampered. I'm so fragile. This should not be Prince Siddhartha. This is what he said. Amazing discovery. Amazing discovery. Then what he did, the 2 lines. Then what he did, and seeing that himself as so fragile, number one, seeing that there are so many injustices happening in the palace, within the palace. He was not allowed to go outside by the king. He was so protected. So seeing all these injustices there, and then again the wars happening between the kingdoms. He was seeing all these people suffering so badly. So what he did, so much of compassion came to him. Altruism. I should not remain fragile, pampered prince. I should do something to help the world, motivated by altruism to benefit sentient beings. This is the initial motivation. Without this motivation, one cannot dive to become strong. Without the motivation, without the challenges, you will never grow. So he discovered that he did not have any challenge. He was just so pampered. He felt that I'm so fragile, and the reality is very different. So with this, wanting to help so many beings, he left the palace, seeing that if he remained in the palace, he will end up just as a very spoiled, or at the most, a responsible king. That's it. He cannot help the world. So he left the palace out of compassion for the beings. What did he do? All these beings, they're suffering terribly. I must look for a permanent solution for all these beings. And this solution, whatever I find, I must teach to the beings. That makes him the teacher. Number two, the teacher. And to teach this, first of all, say that, okay, I found the vaccine for the COVID. I found the vaccine for the COVID, and now people talking about the neocov. Neocov, how many you heard about it? It was just yesterday, 2 days in news. Okay, neocov, very scary. Okay, keeping this aside. Okay, I found a vaccine. First, prove it. Verify that this is something which will actually say what is the efficacy of this vaccine. So he has to, whatever the path that he found to be taught to the beings, he first had to experiment it on himself. And experimenting how to wake up. You wake up and all your problems dissolve, all your fears dissolve. He experimented with himself, and then actually when he was waking up from the sleep of ignorance, all these fears dissolve, and fears are replaced by the bliss of the purity. So that is Sugata. Sugata means the one who has gone to the bliss of purity. Sugata. So with this experience and the conviction and the confidence, then he went to protect the beings by sharing this light of the wisdom. So that makes him the protector. To you, I make prostrations, meaning that you are the one who treaded on this path towards fearlessness and infinite happiness with these 3 points. So this is exactly what I see as a reliable guide. Anybody who tread this path and reach to the culminated in the fearlessness, the infinite happiness, that is my role model. Okay, so with this, we see that what was the initial trigger for this Prince Siddhartha to culminate into the enlightened one is the motivation of the altruism, compassion. Okay, with this in mind, let us continue reading from this book. Okay, we are on stanza 8 of this book, A Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life, chapter 1, stanza 8. And I'm using the translation by Stephen Batchelor. Okay, it reads, stanza 8, it reads, those who wish to destroy the many sorrows of their conditioned existence. So we go through all these sorrows, miseries. Miseries are there. And particularly if you know what it is, this the latest virus, what is that? The neocov. If you, I don't want to tell the whole story, you learn it yourself. It's very scary, very scary. So it says, those who wish to destroy the many sorrows of the conditioned existence, those who wish all beings to experience a multitude of joys, and seeing that you your compassion expands, your happiness expands. And what we are seeking is infinite happiness. And on the contrary, what we do is we just do the opposite. We create a wall to imprison ourselves And we think that this is created so that I will have a more peace, more happiness. Actually, this is this is just the opposite. So it says, those who wish all beings to experience multitude of joys, and those who wish to experience much happiness, should never forsake the awakening mind. Awakened mind here is the Bodhichitta, the mind to become fully awakened for the benefit of all sentient beings. In fact, this is so beautiful when the love and the affection, when that is the what combines two people, like the mother and the child. So usually what I do is that I say when I go to say, if I go to meet somebody, usually we have the what call it, it is like the tradition, or the custom or tradition to go, they give some presents to the other person who you're meeting. And when I go, what I do is that if I know that the person is a child, a young child, a particularly young child, then I make sure that I give a present to the child. Giving a present to the child, that is far better than giving a present to the parents, because the parents feel so happy that their child is not neglected. And then that is what makes them happy. So they're happy, their child is happy. This is all because of the love of the parents towards the child. This is so beautiful. So the point is that as your love and affection increases, expands the circle of love and affection, your happiness expands. This is the reality which actually governs, which we fail to see this. And if you experiment it, you will see that this is the secret of happiness. And for that matter, it's not that, okay, so it makes sense, so from tomorrow onwards I'll be kind towards others. No, it'll not happen. It'll not happen. Again, tomorrow you will meet with somebody, right? So oftentimes people, some of the people, be it Indians or the Westerners, they come to meet me and they said, oh, the Tibetans, they're so good. That's amazing people. I said that, okay, it's too early for you to say this, right? Too early to say this. Okay, His Holiness is amazing, no doubt. That's amazing. But keep in mind that don't go with so much expectation and the excitement, right? And just keep more grounded, meet with the other person. And then if you really feel that this is so special, then you can say this. Otherwise, simply by seeing His Holiness amazing, then you say stereotype this, all the Tibetans are amazing. If this is, then you may feel disillusioned at one point. So what I'm saying is that we should be very realistic. We should be very realistic. Expand the circle of compassion. It's not that tomorrow I'll be kind and then you become kind tomorrow. No, you have to practice it. For that matter, there are two methods: the sevenfold cause effect method and the method of equalizing exchanges of others. There are two methods. So we have to practice both methods, and if it would be very tiring, these two, because then our thinking is very opposite to what is taught here in these two methods. Because it is so the opposite, our mind does not flow in line with what you are doing with these two methods. So it's so tiring and it's very exhausting. So if you do these two methods, meditation, even one method, you do it, you may do it for like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. And after 20 minutes, you will feel so tired. It's a mental tiredness. Okay, but as you get used to it, then this tiredness will be replaced by a feeling of goosebumps coming on the body, which never happened before. Goosebumps, tickling sensation on your, and then your mind expands with joy. These things can potentially happen. As we practice it, as we become used to this practice. Okay. So it says, And those who wish to experience much happiness should never forsake this awakened mind, the awakened mind wishing to become enlightened for the benefit of sentient beings. Should not forsake, meaning practice it, right? If you don't practice it, then it will not happen automatically. Okay. Says line, the moment an awakened mind arises in those fettered and weak in the jail of cyclic existence, which means in samsara. Cyclic existence is samsara. Most of us, you know the word samsara. What is samsara? Samsara is cyclic existence. Existence where you don't have the freedom, where you have lost the freedom. That is cyclic existence. They will be named a child of the Sugatas. Child of Sugatas meaning the enlightened ones, the Buddhas or the enlightened ones. When you say the Buddhas, it doesn't mean the Buddhism. Don't let us make distinction between the two things. The Buddha in the context of Buddhism and the Buddha in the context of the awakened being. Anybody can be awakened. Anybody. Whether you are Buddhist, non-Buddhist, whether male, female, it doesn't matter. Everyone has this seed of perfection, this seed of the infinite happiness, this seed of the infinite fearlessness. Everyone has this seed. It's a matter of how to awaken it. Okay. So the child of the Sugatas, meaning the one who is courageous enough to go into this line to awaken this seed, to experience the fearlessness and the infinite happiness. The moment an awakened mind, okay, let's say that you and most of us, I don't know, say each and individual, each and every one of you, let's say some of you, you know your background. And then you may think that, okay, I'm not really at the level of, the aristocrats or prime ministers, presidents, and so forth. I'm from a simple family, like myself, simple family. But if you practice bodhicitta, the moment this bodhicitta genuinely is experienced within you, at that point, all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, all the enlightened beings, they will respect you as the child of the awakened being, child of the enlightened being. So in the olden time, the sons of the kings, they are considered as very important. Particularly the first son is considered very important. Why? Because this child is going to become the king eventually. So when you generate this bodhicitta, may I become fully awakened for the benefit of all sentient beings. When you generate it spontaneously, you will eventually, this is like you become the prince, to become the full awakened being in the future to benefit all the beings. So you become so precious. So you are revered as the child of the Sugata, the prince or the princess of the Sugatas, of the enlightened beings, and will be revered by both humans and gods of the world. So it says that, let's say that you and I, we are beggars on the street. We have nothing. We are just at the let's say at the bottom of the pyramid of the human beings, let's say. Yet you generate bodhicitta within you. Even the god and goddesses, and all the sensible human beings, they will come to prostrate to you. You are no more ordinary person. Although you are from a very humble background, family-wise, but your spiritual realization is so high that even the god and goddesses who are being revered by the people, asking for boons and so forth, these will come down to make prostrations to you and will be revered by both humans and the gods of the world. Okay, so this stanza 10, this is so beautiful. I don't know if I shared this in our last class. This is so beautiful. And the sharing a little bit about the monastic training and the big monastic unit, not all the monasteries. So there's sometimes when I give the impression of the monastery where I was trained, people get the feeling that all the Buddhist monasteries, they are like this. No, this is this is like, okay, I'll share another. Let's say there's a stereotyping. We just generalize. We see some and one, and then you think that everything is like this. So this is our weakness. In fact, what happened was that once there was teaching of His Holiness the Dalai Lama happening in a hotel, in the first hotel, and the space is very small. Usually, His Holiness comes is like lakhs of people there, and that was organized by one group and meant for only those the people attend only on the basis of the invites. If you don't have the invitation, you cannot be enrolled there. You cannot go there. And so many people without the invites, they were all wanting to get in, and they space only for 200, and maybe 300, 500 people they're waiting to get into, and they are not allowed. And there was one lady by the name. Okay, I'm changing the name. I'm changing the name to a word to protect the privacy. So let's say the lady is say, okay, lady, her name is Dr. Devi, and she's struggling to get the seat there for the teaching, and no way, there are hundreds of people waiting to get in. And then they somebody from inside the hall came out and asked, hey, is there anyone by the name Dr. Devi? This lady was so amazed. How come that somebody inside they identifies me, and then I'm called? And she said that so innocently, she said, yes, I'm Dr. Devi. And the person said, please come, please come. With so much respect, she was invited in. She was invited in. And then what happened was that inside there was somebody who became sick and said, Dr. Devi, please attend to this sick person. And she said that I am not a medical doctor. I'm a doctorate in economics. Okay, so it so happened that there was a medical doctor by the name Devi, and her name is also Dr. Devi. And just because the two share the same label, same name, so people confuse her for the medical doctor. So this is where we need to be a little careful. So all the monasteries, they are not the same. Okay, where I'm trained, that these monasteries, they are very rigorous in their trainings, in the academic studies. Okay. So what happened was that in these monasteries, where the trainings, so usually the age limit is like, say, age 15, 16 through to age 35. So you begin with when you age 14, 15, 16. And then let's say by the time you complete your studies, you reach like age 32, 33, 34. Okay, so this is what it is. And then in the debate courtyard, all the students, it's not that you just go there and you debate with anybody. No, you'll be sitting classwise. And the one side was the junior most, and the other side was the senior most. And if you go there, the junior most, and how many have seen the debates, monastic debates? Raise hands. Okay, and how many you have noticed that the monastic debates, they are at times very aggressive? Raise hands. Okay, good. So okay, if you go to the big monastic universities, the three big monastic universities in South India, then you will see that the real aggression you will see there. So the youngest ones, you go there, the debate was extremely aggressive, right? Yet nobody's beating each other. And they will say, if I throw my question, if I'm throwing the question, and if somebody else thinks that he has a brighter question, then he will come to interrupt me and throw question. And because that I'm occupying the space, the person has to get the space to ask a question. So what he would do, if he's stronger, he would just lift me like this and throw me out. Then he will ask this question. Then and sometimes if I'm stronger, he cannot lift me up. So he will pull my shirt, and then sometimes the shirts are also torn apart. but they are very calm. Calm meaning that they don't mind. You break you tear my shirt, is fine, but I must they put my question. So this is the beginners, young ones. Then as you go from you say the left side to the right side, left side the youngest one, right side the senior most. As you go to the senior most, you reach the senior most, you will see there is like profound peace there. And nobody grabbing like this, pulling, pushing, no. See the most there, everybody's so calm, smiling, laughing. The defenders, those who defend the position, are usually two monks defending the position, and all other monks will throw questions to them, and then they know each other so well, who is brighter, so they give chance to everybody. And when somebody who's very bright asks a question, nobody will interrupt. They'll give the chance to that person. And then if the question is asked and if the person cannot give the answer, then all others will just stay there. And if the question is so intelligible, even the defenders, they will be lost in admiration to the profundity of questions. It's so peaceful. And then if the person cannot defend and try to defend, the next question comes, again trapped, everybody will break into laughter. It's extreme, profoundly beautiful moment. It's so profound. Okay, so this is what happens. Now, sometimes there is a huge debate meaning, say the defenders who are completing their final degrees, final geshe degree, which is the PhD, final geshe degrees. If there are 10 of them will be the defenders. And the whole monastery, about 2,000 monks will throw questions to you, 10 of them. 2,000 monks. And who are these 2,000 monks, scholars? They are like the abbots. They are the very senior geshes, abbots, His Holiness Gandhi Rinpoche. They will all throw questions against you because you are sitting for the final, this is the last test for you. So all these 2,000 monks include the biggest of the shots, top-notch scholars. They're all there to throw questions to you. It's very quite a nervous experience. Okay, and it's quite a scary experience also. Yeah, and so then sometimes the debate can go like from 7 p.m. through to like 1 a.m. in the midnight. And then when will the debate, how do we know that the debate comes to an end? Is that when a younger monk stands up to ask a question. And oftentimes, if they say this verse, it is like the supreme gold-making elixir. For it transforms the unclean body we have taken into the priceless jewel of a Buddha form. Therefore, firmly seize this awakened mind. So this verse, if a young man stands up to cite this quotation, then all the monks know that now the debate is coming to an end. And all the monks, although they are rigorously thinking about the ultimate reality, what questions to put and so forth, when a young man stands up to say this verse, all the monks, they will then set themselves up and then sit nicely, properly. They all will go into very reflective mood and deeply into the Bodhichitta practice. They will just go into the Bodhichitta practice and in line with what the stanza says. It's beautiful, so serene. It becomes so serene, it's so beautiful. So this verse is so precious in this respect. While the monks, they are debating on the philosophy, on the logic, on psychology, and on the wisdom. When finally this verse is said, everybody will go into meditative state on compassion. So what is this? This compassion that you have, finally what makes you happy, what makes others happy, it is this compassion. So this compassion is like a supreme gold-making elixir. What is elixir? It's a nectar. It's a nectar, ambrosia, the nectar, which makes, let's say, the gold-making elixir, the science of the alchemy. In the olden times, the science of alchemy says that there's some solutions, you prepare some solutions, and this solution is a gold-making elixir. You apply this to any ordinary metal, all these ordinary metals, they will become gold. So ordinary metals to be dumped, otherwise you apply the gold making elixir, they will all become gold. Are you going to dump them? No, they are so precious now. So likewise, what we have the body, we have the speech, and the body. Look at our body. Our body is so weak. How many agree that our body, however physical strong you are, your body is very weak? How many agree with me? Raise hands. Yes, without food, we feel hungry. We feel totally the energyless. And the temperature hits below 15, below 15, 11, 10, then our body feels so cold. And the temperature hits 30, 35, 40, our body cannot bear the heat. This is what a body is. And even this tiny bacteria, the virus, tiny virus, it kills you. The strongest of the person can be killed by this tiny virus. So our body is so fragile. Yet, this body can be transformed into the body of the fully awakened being, where the body is everlasting, so pure, and so magnificent, with no faults. That is because of this bodhicitta, unconditional love of the bodhicitta. And a speech, what we say, they are so offensive. They are so offensive. It hurts so many other people. How many agree with me? Raise hands. You don't mean to offend somebody. You say something and you offend. For example, I'll give you one example. Say you watched say the school performance of say the performance by class, or let's say class 10 students performance. And there was one girl or one boy who were the best of the performers. And then the next day, that child and another the classmate of theirs come to see you. You don't mean to offend the other person. You say that you are the best, right? There are two persons together, and you tell the other person, the other child, person A, you are the best. You are the best. If you're not there, then the whole performance is just meaningless. You are saying that the other boy or the other girl is meaningless. This is how you offend other people so easily. Unintentionally, we can offend so many people. This is how our speech is extremely defined, limited, and it has so much of shortcomings. This is what happens. So the point is, when you become enlightened, any speech is so healing. Anybody who hears your voice is so healing. Anybody. You compliment the person A, oh, your performance is so good. Your school, your class performance amazing. Both children will be very happy. You are the excellent one, right? If you are not there, then then it's so, which means the other boy, other girl is so, right? So this is how I say our speech is, again, we see it has so much of shortcomings. And then our mind, even more corrupted, right? Even more corrupted. Somebody says that, say you're not really you think that you're the best person. How dare this person said like this? The whole day you will be upset, right? Your mother says, my son, you'll have a cup of tea. What cup of tea? Right? And my daughter, you'll have a cup of tea. What cup of tea? Right? Somebody else made you unhappy, and you are making somebody who loves you the most unhappy person. This is how our mind is so defiled, right? So now practice bodhicitta. Practice this unconditional love for your own happiness. For your own happiness, and you see that your body changes to the body of the immutable bliss of the body. And the speech becomes so perfect, and your mind becomes so pure, right? So it says, it is like the supreme gold-making elixir, for it transforms the unclean body we have taken. Okay, it is like the supreme gold-making elixir for this bodhicitta. It transforms the unclean body we have taken into the priceless jewel of the Buddha form, or the awakened form. Therefore, firmly seize this awakened mind of the bodhicitta. Okay. Since the limitless mind of the soul guides the world, soul guides the world meaning awakened beings, those who already awakened from the sleep of ignorance, has, upon thorough investigation, seen its preciousness of this compassion, of this bodhicitta, all beings wishing to be free from worldly abodes, free from this samsaric existence, should firmly take hold of this precious bodhicitta, awakened mind bodhicitta. All other virtues are like plantain trees. For example, let's say that let's say that when we help others, I remember His Holiness the Dalai Lama, there many years ago, when asked by the experts how to really bring about change in the community. So His Holiness says that there is immediate measure and the long-term measure. Immediate measures provide food, provide medical facilities, so forth. These are all immediate measures. How long are you going to give food? Every day. How long? Today you give food for 1 year, fine, but next year who will give the food? Long-term measure is, His Holiness says, provide skills. If you give the skill to the people to look for food, skill to look for food, then that suffices, giving food for whole life. How many agree with me? Raise hands. Yes. So likewise, it says that there are two benefits. One, which is a very immediate benefit, and the long-term benefit. So where, say that you benefit somebody else with, say, giving food and so forth. These are these virtues. These virtues, they're very short-lived, very short-lived. Whereas the virtue of the Bodhichitta, may I become fully awakened being for the benefit of all sentient beings. Till all sentient beings become enlightened, your virtue will forever remain. It will never exhaust. So all other virtues are like plantain trees. Plantain trees meaning, say, the banana trees. It grows a banana and the one time finished. Don't expect that the next year again it will give more fruits. Next year more fruits. It's only one time, perennial. So all virtues are like plantain trees. For after bearing fruit, they simply perish. They die. They bear the fruit once and then they die. You have to uproot. You have to again plant something new. Yet the perennial tree, yet the perennial tree of the awakened mind, this bodhicitta, with this, it is so lasting, perennial, unceasingly bears fruit and thereby flourishes without end. So till you become enlightened, till all the beings are enlightened, the benefits of your genuine bodhicitta, it'll just continue. It'll never cease. That is perennial in nature. Like entrusting myself to a brave man when greatly afraid, by entrusting myself to this awakened mind, I shall be swiftly liberated. Even if I've committed extremely unbearable wrongs, why then to the conscientious not devote themselves to this? Okay. We talk about our experiences. Let's say that what if you take birth as a wild animal in a forest? It's very scary. How many of you agree with me that if you take birth as a wild animal in a forest, every wild animal in the forest, they have to live in fear, including the tigers, including the lions, most powerful lions, maybe the king of the forest at that time, one day will become old. One day a younger lion will come and they will attack you. And one day you'll become old and even the other tiny the animals will eat you up. This is how it works. Likewise, if you take birth in the ocean, again, it's so scary. You have to live every moment in fear. And we never know that we can be in the hands of a terrorist. We never know. What is that like? It's very, very scary. You even don't know what the next moment is like. And you're born as a chicken in a KFC. Your life is just like a piece of potato. This is samsara. If you think of that, it's very scary. And how do we know that we'll not take birth there or birth as human being? This is very random. random, and no, we'll not take birth like animals in the future. How do we know that? How do you know that? So for that, what is important is that we need to say how things come into existence. Are they random? And many people, they think this is random. For example, the fittest of the survival, say the evolutionary theory, and also to some extent the Big Bang theory, the survival of the fittest theory. All these things somehow say they go from what we see from there. You infer, but you reach to some point where you have to say randomness. And if you come to the conclusion of the randomness, then it contradicts with many reasons. So randomness has no room. So now how do you account for all these existence of we being taken by as human, and then the animals, insects, and so forth? How do we account for these? So these are accounted for on the basis of where there is no contradiction is the law of the karma. With the law of karma, you see that there's no contradiction. Otherwise, there's always some contradictions here and there. You accept randomness, there's a problem. And you accept, they say the creation, there's a problem. Logical inconsistency is there. So logical inconsistency, this is what even the Christian, the priests, brilliant Christian priests, they debate on these issues. How do we account for all these inconsistencies if we accept the concept of the creation? And of course, the concept of creation, it also contradicts with the evolutionary theory. So there are many. So the law of karma, so if one can accept it, if one can logically understand it, this is what can explain all these phenomena well. So with this mind, it says that since the limitless mind of the soul guide, the soul guide of the world, has upon thorough investigation seen its preciousness, all beings wishing to be free from worldly abodes, samsaric existence, should firmly take hold of this precious bodhichitta. Where the compassion is there, your fears dissolve, you are more confident. And this guarantee that your mind is happier. Okay, and stanza 13, sorry. Like entrusting myself to a brave man when eagerly afraid. And what causes our miserable experiences is because of our own negative karmas, negative actions that we do, negative thoughts. For example, like shouting at your mother, and fighting with your husband, with your wife, with your children, your parents, and so forth. And unfortunately, they are almost like there's every reason there. There's some excuses there for us to fight. Where even the brothers, sisters who are once extremely loving, caring towards each other, when there is the age of 20, 30, then the property fights happen. Oh, extremely painful. Okay, I don't want to touch this area. I don't want to touch this area. Okay. Wow. Even the otherwise most sensible person can become crazy, can become mad over the property fight. Anger, so much anger. What is the property for? This property for? Why are you struggling for the property so that my life will be happy? Are you happy with anger, which you never had before? Now having because of this property. So this property is not actually helping you, it's harming you. Okay, I don't want to touch this area too much. Okay, this is extremely painful. Okay, so in the process, there's so much anger, and this beautiful, the friendship, beautiful relationship between siblings is simply destroyed. And this accumulates so much negative karma, and this will result into the negative experiences in the future. This is a samsara. So If you are sensible, okay, that's true. Now I should be careful. I should not destroy my next life. I should not destroy the peace of my life. I should not destroy the peace of the children's life. This we have to be very careful. Okay, so you have done all these negativities. Yes, you can purify these negativities. How? What is the best way to purify these negativities? Is by practice compassion. This is very beautiful. With the compassion, you embrace. Earlier, you push out of anger. Now, this push is counteracted by the embrace. So, this embrace nullifies our past negative karmas. So, it says, like stanza 13, like entrusting myself to a brave man, which is the metaphor for great compassion or the altruism, Bodhichitta. When great afraid, by entrusting myself to this awakened mind, I shall be swiftly liberated from all these evils of the mind, from all these ills of the society. Even if I've committed extremely unbearable wrongs, why then do the conscientious, those who are sensible people with the sanity, not devote themselves to this practice of the compassion? Just like fire at the end of the age, it instantly consumes all great wrongdoing. Its unfathomable advantages were taught to the disciple Sudana by the wise Lord Maitreya. Lord Maitreya is the future Buddha, the next Buddha. In brief, okay, so this Bodhichitta, that may I become fully enlightened for the benefit of all sentient beings. This incredible, beautiful Bodhichitta. This is amazing. So the parents, generally speaking, not all, the parents, let's say they, okay, some parents, they're more sensible. While still they're alive, they would just, say that, okay, this property is for you, my daughter, my son, like this. You divide it. Some parents, they wait till they disappear, right? Then the complications happen. Okay, some parents, they leave a will. So now, the point is that this, say the parents, they don't even think of giving, let's say, the 100 rupees to unknown person, 1,000 rupees to unknown person, but the parents are leaving all the property to you. Why? Because of this love. When you practice a bodhicitta, when you actually feel this love towards others who are unrelated to you biologically, when you start to feel this love towards others, you will feel the same courage to give everything towards others. This is so beautiful. So the fear dissolves. What is this fear? The fear of losing things to people who are unrelated to you. This fear. Fear, it destroys your immunity. It makes you unhappy. We don't want unhappiness. So what makes this unhappiness is all because of creating this division between I and you. That is one which creates this division. That is one which puts you into prison of the fear. So whereas if you feel this love and affection towards all beings, that okay, whoever takes things, and many people, they lose their properties in the hands of people who they don't like the property to go to. Yet it goes. You have left the world. This is what happens so many times. Okay, with this in mind, this compassion, this bodhicitta, it is of two kinds. One, which says that may I become enlightened for the benefit of all sentient beings. That is aspiration. Other one is in order to say, when you say that may I become enlightened, you have to do something. May I become professor. May I, complete my PhD. You have to do something. If you don't study, if you find yourself always in the pubs, then this becomes like the dry words. They're not meaningful words. So when you say, may I become Buddha, may I become the fully awakened being, may the seed of my perfection awakens fully. You have to do something to awaken this. So the second part of the bodhicitta, the other part of the bodhicitta is known as the venturing bodhicitta or the bodhicitta in action. The first one is aspirational bodhicitta. Of the two, the first one, yes, even you have this mind, may I become enlightened for the benefit of all sentient beings, there's a tremendous benefit, but the other one is has even more benefit. Stanza 15. In brief, the awakening mind Awakened mind meaning the Bodhichitta should be understood to be of two types: the mind that aspires to awaken and the mind that ventures to be awakened to do so. As is understood by the distinction between aspiring to go and actually going, or I will go, it doesn't mean that you have taken the step. You are yet to take the steps. But if you set your the foot to walk, that is the venturing. So as is understood by the distinction between aspiring to go and actually going, so the wise understand in terms of the distinction between these two minds, the aspiring bodhicitta and the venturing bodhicitta. 17. All the great fruits occur in Sangha existence from the mind that aspires to awaken. An uninterrupted flow of merit does not ensue as it does with a venturing mind. Of the two, the second one is much more powerful and more beneficial. But for the second one, you should have the experience of the compassion must be quite ripened, that you should be able to, through practice, you'll be able to feel that with all beings, and then you can take the venturing to actual bodhisattva vow or the venturing bodhicitta vow. Okay, 18. And for those who have perfectly seized this awakening, seize this mind with a thought never to turn away from totally liberating the infinite forms of life, from that time hence, even while asleep or unconcerned, a force of merit equal to the sky will perpetually ensue. Okay, once you generate this bodhicitta, and then even if you are fast asleep, your virtues keep proliferating. And what's the job of these virtues? These virtues will give rise to the happiness as a result. While some people, they are born in a very good family with the parents, very affectionate, very educated. And for example, in my case, my two parents, they're very affectionate. Yes, they were but they are totally illiterate, both of them. So it's my karma. I must not have accumulated so much of virtue related to having a parents who are literate. You wouldn't believe. What happened was that, okay, I should not go into too much stories. Okay, what happened was that when I was young, meaning age 6, 7, I was so fond of books. I did not know how to read books. Just in a very simple boarding school, I did not know how to read books. I was already age 6, 7. And one day I got a book, English book. Somehow I got a book as my private property book. And there all these letters are there, A, B, C, D, that I can read, but I cannot read what is there. And I see some, say the sketches of the rats. I still remember them so vividly. And this is the most precious property that I had, this young boy had. So I need a place, a safe haven for me to keep this so that I don't lose this. And then I saw I felt that it was my father's place, my father who was totally illiterate, my father's place because he loves me so much, I love him so much, so he will for sure keep it very safe. So I took it there to keep it in his very small place. I kept it there. And there's a book there. There's nobody who will bring this. Maybe it's one of my 3 children. And so this should be his attitude. What happened? Next month for the holiday. Next 2-day holiday. Went to see my father with so much excitement. This young boy, so much excitement that I have this book again. I can touch this book. I cannot read. I was already 6 or 7. Actually, I should be able to read something. I don't know how to read, but feeling that I can touch this book, it's my book. I went there. I was looking in my father's place, which is just a small square place. That's it. Very small square. No 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom. Forget about all these things. It's very easy to find where it is. No way to be found. I was just wondering what happened to my book. So this place is supposed to be the safe haven for my book. What happened? It disappeared. So my poor father must have found a good fuel for his stove. Yeah, he illiterate. So this was very unfortunate that I did not. Very loving though, he was very loving. Only thing was very illiterate, so he could not encourage me into studies. This is what I'm saying. So there are some people, they have their parents who are so encouraging, they're so loving, they're totally literate, so fortunate. So what I'm saying is that, so all these things, the merits, virtues, merits, they give rise to these results. And let us not take for granted. Say if you're born in such a family where the parents are very educated, very loving, and materially you don't have any problem, don't take for granted. These are these are the results of your virtues. And these virtues will exhaust. These virtues will exhaust. Don't think that this is always with me. Where your virtues exhaust, overnight you can become a beggar. You can end up as the homeless. You can become homeless overnight. Don't think that. So virtues have to be accumulated, and the best way by which to accumulate so much of virtue within a very short span of time is the practice of compassion. Practice of compassion does not require that you should be Buddhist or you should be a religious person. No, anybody can practice compassion. Anybody can practice compassion. Practice this, and invariably you are accumulating so much of virtues, and which will result you into experience the good things that you want. Okay. Now 17, stanza 18. Stanza 18. And for those who have perfectly seized this mind with a thought never to turn away from totally liberating infinite forms of life, from that time hence, even while you are asleep or you are just engrossed with other things, you continue to accumulate merit. It is like putting up the fixed deposit in a bank. You don't even think about it. It'll keep multiplying. The money keeps multiplying. Likewise, this bodhicitta, this unconditional love towards beings. So this bodhicitta, even if you are not actively thinking about it, once you have cultivated it, then you engage in some other works. This, it is like the bank deposit, your virtue will continue to multiply within you. This is so precious. The wise people, why don't they embrace this bodhicitta practice, compassion practice? The force of merit equal to the sky will perpetually ensue. For the sake of those inclined towards the lesser vehicle meaning those who seek personal liberation, that I be liberated, other beings, okay, that's good if they're liberated, but I must liberate myself. So those who are more into lesser vehicle, this was logically asserted by the Tathagata, by the enlightened one, but the Buddha himself in the sutra requested by Sabahu, saying that don't go for you have a tremendous potential. Your potential is not just the fearlessness, you also have the potential for the infinite happiness for yourself and for all beings. Don't underestimate your potential. Go for the bigger choice. Go for the wiser choice. Go for the bigger goal. That is the infinite happiness, not only the fearlessness, but the infinite happiness for all beings. Okay. I will stop here as 1 o'clock sharp. I will recite the Heart Sutra mantra 3 times. Deyata Om Gati Gati Paragati Parasam Gati Bodhiswatyata Om Gati Gati Paragati Parasam Gati Bodhiswatyata Om Gati Gati Paragati Parasam Gati Bodhiswaha. Okay, see you in 1 o'clock.
Thank you, Geshe-la.
Thank you, Geshe-la. Thank you.
Thank you, Geshe-la.
Thank you. Thank you, Geshe-la.
Thank you so much, Geshe-la.
Thank you.